Live from the news hub here at Desawe Kanda, I am Portia Gabo.
And I am Martin Asiedu Date. Let's look at the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News360 headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal, EcoBank.
Tonight, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, insists that ongoing power outages and low voltage in parts of the country are due to a nationwide transformer upgrade.
And also coming up tonight, Ghana National Association of Teachers members in Medina, Denta, Bokobi area declare an indefinite strike beginning Tuesday, April 21, following an attack on a member.
Later in the bulletin, the Ghana National Fire Service revives its fire police unit after nearly 3 decades.
Later in business news, Ghana's economy shows remarkable resilience despite facing a significant seasonal decline at the start of 2026.
On the international front, U.S. President Donald Trump denies being under pressure to make Iran deal ahead of a ceasefire deadline. We're live on our website, 3news.com. We are streaming on Facebook and on YouTube as well, so do keep your messages coming in.
We first begin with education, and members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, in the Medina, Adenta, Abokobi area have declared an indefinite strike beginning Tuesday, April 21, following an attack on a member. A teacher, Abdullah Mohammed, was beaten by a former student of the same school where he teaches.
Physical attacks against teachers are on the rise. The Medina Abokobi Adenta Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT district, between March and April has recorded 2 assault cases involving teachers. 3 students from Frafraha were fined 4,000 cedis each by the Adenta Circuit Court after assaulting a teacher of the West Africa Senior Secondary School, following a thug invasion of the school premises. The latest incident involved the assault of Abdullah Mohammed, a teacher at the Presbyterian Junior High School at Otano, near Ajungano. Reports indicate that on Monday, April 13, 2026, while Abdullah was invigilating final year students writing mock examinations, he spotted a former student in one of the classrooms, allegedly attempting to steal from candidates' bags. According to Abdullah, he confronted the boy and asked him to stop and leave the premises, but he refused. Eventually, the teacher succeeded in driving him away. However, shortly after, the boy returned with another individual, and together they attacked the teacher, landing a few heavy blows. The timely intervention of colleague teachers led to Abdullah's rescue. He was subsequently rushed to the East Legon police station to file an official complaint. Police are yet to arrest the suspect a week after the incident. The main suspect is reported to be a school dropout from the same institution. Teachers say they no longer feel safe within the community.
I'm not safe in the community again. I've been there for 4 years. After teaching 6 years in Western Region, I've been in Bogosu for 6 years, and this is my 4th year at Bethel Presby. I've never had any encounter with any parent, community member, no. Just that I'm very firm on disciplining the children when they go wayward.
Executives of NAT in the district have since declared a strike effective Tuesday, April 21, 2026, pending the arrest and prosecution of the perpetrators. Medina Adenta Abokobi NAT chairman Christian Yao Edinkra insists the touch one, touch all approach has become necessary to protect the teaching fraternity.
It is becoming so predictable that any time that the teacher suffered any form of pain, harm, assault, we treat it with kid's glove, and it is emboldening the society to be perpetrating same. That is why we thought that we have to hold on our services and to ensure that the right things are done.
Other union members are also calling for stricter punitive measures to deter future attacks on teachers.
We are getting disappointed and fed up. Our members are on our necks. As a union, what are we doing to protect our people? And that is why, personally, I support this strike action.
President Mahama, speaking at the Ghana National Association of Teachers 54th National Quadrennial Delegates Conference in January, reiterated the need to safeguard teachers across the country.
But just for parents to come and, pay a little compensation, it will encourage others to do the same. And so, as for assaults on teachers, I am with you 100%. We will deal with it.
The strike is expected to disrupt academic work across the enclave as pressure mounts on law enforcement agencies to act swiftly. For many teachers here, the demand is simple: justice for their colleague and concrete assurances of safety in the line of duty. Until then, classrooms remain empty and a growing sense of insecurity continues to cast a shadow over the profession. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
Right, let's go to one of the topical subjects that has dominated conversations over the last week or so. And a coalition of civil society organizations in Ghana has raised an alarm over recent legal actions affecting the office of the special prosecutor. The CSOs warned that these acts could significantly undermine the country's anti-corruption efforts. In a press release, the organization, or the CSOs, which they issued on the 20th of April, indicated that moves by the Attorney General at the Supreme Court to challenge aspects of the OSP Act alongside a High Court ruling that declared the OSP's prosecutorial powers unlawful without the Attorney General's authorization. So I'm sure that having come on the back of what many of you have been suggesting, that this seems to be an affront to the fight against corruption, while the CSOs have an alternative position. And these are extracts from that statement they have sent to the media or to the public. They say, amongst other things, that the ruling by the High Court undermines anti-corruption fight and that corruption fight risks major setback. They also say that their lawyers have been authorized to apply to the Supreme Court as amicus to submit a brief in support of constitutionality of Act 959. They say that the judgment of the High Court ultra vires as matter is before the Supreme Court, and they expect the OSP will seek to stay and quash orders so the Supreme Court can address the matter. Mary Awelana Ada is the Executive Director for Transparency International. Madam, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us.
To your viewers.
To start with, what are the main concerns that you have with the High Court ruling? We also know that the Attorney General's office has sought to clarify why they believe that the High Court ruling is in order. What are your major disagreements?
So, Martin, if I may start, I would want to say that over the past 2 decades, one of the things that has been a clarion call and an advocacy point is the fact that we have had a process or a system that didn't inure to the fight against corruption. And so we were all collectively by consensus in agreement that there is no other way than to find this alternative that we all came up with, that is the Office of the Special Prosecutor, to prosecute the agenda of anti-corruption in Ghana. Long before the OSP, over 2 decades past, the APRM reports indicated clearly that the people of Ghana believed this, that we needed an office that was separate from the Minister of Justice's office. And we needed that because of issues of during regime accountability, which wasn't done too well, and also the issues of allegiance making the fight against corruption to be affected. And so there is also empirical evidence that we have collected over time that has shown that the citizens of Ghana believe the fight against corruption would be better if we went the route of ensuring that we have a separate body, like happens in other countries, which focuses on this fight. And so it wasn't surprising at all that in 2017, this process started, that culminated in the setting up of the office, which we all agreed. And by consensus, bipartisan consensus, agreed to shaping this. So it is curious for us that anybody would then turn around and go to court. We do not discount the fact that people can go to court, but anybody arises and goes to court to then say that the setup of the office and its powers to prosecute are not consistent with the Constitution, when we have all come to this agreement. And I say again that the Honorable Minister now then made a proposition on how to work around the Article 88 form. And he spoke to the fact that we could have a constitutional instrument or a legislative instrument developed. And that was done, that was signed. And so for us, it is curious for us that when we have this, the court still decides that it is going the route it went. And we believe they didn't act right. And we continue to believe the OSC has the right, which was authorized to them through the LI and through their act, to prosecute corruption after they have investigated and come up with evidence that should lead them to do so.
It looks as though we are in uncharted territory now because of this particular issue. But finally, how do you suggest we proceed with this so we can have an agreement where the OSP can still act independent, because the law says clearly he has to work with the Attorney General? But how would the association or your group suggest we move forward so we can still fight corruption and not lose confidence in this fight?
Yes, so we have made some very clear recommendations as we have gone along. One is the fact that during the development of the new anti-corruption strategy that will be implemented very soon, one of the pronouncements or the suggestions that came up is the fact that we need to write the OSP into the Constitution. And then that takes away this. Ultimately, the Constitutional Review Commission's recommendations, which we also are not too sure where they are now, because the President promised us January to set up an implementation committee. As we speak today, we don't know the level of work that has gone on. But the Constitutional Review Committee's recommendations to set up an Office of Ethics and Anti-Corruption would also help. And this is going to be written into the Constitution. Then ultimately, we would also want to see the decoupling of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice. When we have this baby we are talking about in the review process and in the recommendations we have made in the NICAP document implemented. If we do so, then the OSC has substantive authority to prosecute. Then we would not have some of these diversions taking away the focus of the OSP from doing its work.
Right. Madam Meriada, thank you so much for your time this evening. She's the Executive Director for the Transparency International.
In more news tonight, the Electricity Company of Ghana has rejected claims of overbilling in recent prepaid charges, insisting that no customers have been overcharged. Meanwhile, ECG says ongoing power outages and low voltage in parts of the country are due to a nationwide transformer upgrade aimed at improving electricity supply reliability over the next 2 years.
Less than 2 months ago, some ECG customers raised concerns over what they described as unfair billing and charges on their prepaid meters.
If you look at my shop, I don't have fan. I have my own meter. I use 2 bulbs. If I buy 60 cedis, I spend less than a week, sometimes 4 days. I don't know if it is the meter or when you buy, they find a way to take something from your money I don't know.
This prompted the regulator, Public Utility Regulatory Commission (PURC), to issue a directive to ECG to publish a public notice and investigate the spike in what it described as anomalies. After the investigation, ECG has come out with its explanation.
On the overcharging of credits, let me say here categorically that no customer has been overcharged for the electricity they consumed. When we investigated, we realized that some of our old meters, obsolete meters that we are replacing, some of them are on a tariff, 2021 tariff. There are several that I have seen that were on 2021 tariff. When the team goes around to update that tariff, immediately that customer is going to see a 6 times jump in the rate at which the credit is consumed. They think it's ECG that is cheating them because the rate has gone up or we have overcharged them. The truth is that they have underpaid for a long time.
At a press briefing on Monday, Managing Director of ECG, Engineer Julius Pepena, also addressed recent intermittent power outages, attributing them to transformer upgrades in selected areas. He says the exercise is part of a major infrastructure overhaul valued at over 3 billion cedis to be executed in 5 phases over a period of 3 to 24 months.
We are fully aware that some communities within the ECG operational area are experiencing intermittent outages and low voltages. We have launched the government's transformer upgrade and replacement program and have completed ahead of schedule the upgrade and replacement of power transformers at our Adenta, Milo, and Lashibi primary substations. With the upgrades, the newly installed power transformers have increased capacity and can supply hundreds of homes and businesses.
The power distributor also plans to deploy drone technology to monitor transmission lines in real time and detect faults quickly. Management further dismissed claims of privatization, stating that its engagement with Enclave Power Company is purely operational. ECG, however, cautioned that areas including the Kumasi Enclave, OT and Volta regions may experience more disruption as the upgrade progresses, but maintains the exercise is necessary to ensure a more stable power supply in the long term.
Let's go to the courts now, and Andy Apia-Kubi, lead counsel for the New Patriotic Party's Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Triboisiakun, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, has described as prejudicial and unfortunate comments by Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Shremsai after he prayed the court to convict his client. Earlier, the defense lawyers had informed the court of their inability to file the names of witnesses to be relied on after the court ordered them to file their defense if they were minded to do so. Here's a report by Lord Edwasari.
NPP chairman and his company Akonta Mining are facing 6 counts of allegedly permitting Henry Okum and Michael Jedu AEC to mine on the company's concession without prior approval from the lands minister, as well as facilitating unlicensed mining activities at Samraboy in the Western region. The High Court in March ruled that the prosecution had established a prima facie case against the accused persons and directed them to file their witness statements should they intend to do so on or before April 14, 2026. However, when the case was called on Monday, defense lawyers notified the court of their decision to challenge the High Court's orders at the Court of Appeal, thereby failing to comply with the orders to file the defense. The lawyers further noted that a repeat stay of proceedings motion had been filed at the Court of Appeal after the High Court dismissed a similar motion and prayed the court to adjourn the proceedings pending the outcome of the applications. But Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Shremsai opposed the prayer, adding that the defense was simply delaying the trial and urged the court to convict the accused persons. Presiding Judge Audrey Kokuvite, after listening to both counsel, indicated that due process must be complied with despite the applications before the Court of Appeal. She then ordered the defense to file their defense by May 5. Andy Apia-Kubi, lead counsel for Bernard Triboisiakun, Chairman Wontumi, condemned the Deputy Attorney General's comments after proceedings.
It is prejudicial for the AG to have made that statement that the court should continue to convict the accused persons. It is very unfortunate, especially coming from the Attorney General, who doubles as the Minister for Justice. He forgets that the justice system needs an Attorney General and a Minister of Justice who will preside over fair and trials and fair decisions from the courts. But this, we have an Attorney General who is crying for the court to convict an accused person who has not been opening his defense. So it's very unfortunate.
The case has been adjourned to May 7 for case management conference. Lord Idwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Away from the courts, the Ghana National Fire Service has revived its fire police unit after nearly 3 decades. The move follows a worrying rise in attacks on firefighters while on duty. Chief Fire Officer Mausi Ntosapon says the decision is aimed at protecting personnel and restoring confidence in emergency response operations.
Personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service have come under attack from members of the public while carrying out their duties. Incidents that should draw support instead turn hostile. Early this year, firefighters responding to blaze in Kasua were assaulted, one of several similar cases recorded across the country. These attacks have left some firefighters injured and others shaken, creating fear and in some cases forcing personnel to abandon life-saving operations. Authorities say the absence of a dedicated fire police unit has contributed to growing vulnerability of firefighters on the job. Now, in response, the service has recognized its fire police unit, reviving a system that existed between 1992 and 1998. The unit is expected to enforce discipline within the service while also serving as a protective barrier between firefighters and the public during emergency operations.
Recently, our firefighters have faced more attacks at emergency grounds. Some have been beaten, harassed, and blocked by criminals. These people use weapons and other tools to stop our work and put lives at risk. This must stop. And I stress this must stop.
Chief Fire Officer Daniela Mawoshi Into Sapon is also warning the public to desist from attacking emergency responders, stressing that such actions endanger life and hinder rescue efforts.
The unit will have more tasks and more responsibility beyond keeping discipline inside the service. The fire police will now protect firefighters at incident grounds and scenes. You will be the first line of defense against anyone who tries to attack, block, rescue work, or cause harm. Your job is now bigger, so your skills must also grow.
Selected personnel for the revived unit will undergo specialized combat and crowd control training with support from the Ghana Armed Forces, particularly its military police. The goal is to ensure that firefighters can operate safely and effectively even in volatile situations. As emergency responders continue to risk their lives to save others, authorities say protecting them must become a shared responsibility. Joseph Armstrong, Good TV3, Accra.
Let's take a quick trip to space, shall we? Now, long before the Artemis 2 crew could prepare to orbit the moon or NASA could take the first step to space, a group of 11 extraordinary men had to stay still and, in some cases, spin in circles for days to make man's exploration in space possible. Today, we take a look at the Gallaudet 11, who were not astronauts but men who were deaf, who without them, man might never have made it to the moon.
Before NASA could send humans to space, the agency had to solve a major problem: space sickness and the effects of prolonged weightlessness on the human body. So in the late 1950s, NASA and the U.S. Naval School of Aviation Medicine established a joint research program to study these effects and recruited 11 deaf men aged 25 to 48 years at the Gallaudet College. All but one had become deaf early in their lives due to spinal meningitis, which damaged the vestibular system of their inner ear in a way that made them immune to motion sickness. The vestibular system is part of the inner ear that controls balance. Because their balance sensors didn't work, their brains never received the signals that cause motion sickness. Throughout a decade of various experiments, researchers measured the volunteers' non-reaction to motion sickness on both the physiological and psychological level. The experiment tested the subject's balance and physiological adaptations in a diverse range of environments. One test saw 4 subjects spend 12 straight days inside a 20-foot slow rotation room, which remained in a constant motion of 10 revolutions per minute. In another test, subjects participated in a series of zero-gravity flights in the notorious Vomit Comet aircraft to understand connections between the human orientation and gravitational cues. Another experiment conducted in a ferry off the coast of Nova Scotia tested the subject's reactions to the choppy seas. While the test subjects played cards and enjoyed one another's company, the researchers themselves were so overcome with seasickness that the experiment had to be cancelled. The Gallaudet test subjects, the 11 deaf men, reported no adverse physical effects and in fact enjoyed the experience. Based on their findings from a decade worth of experimentation, researchers gained insight into the body's sensory systems and their responses to foreign gravitational environments. Through their endurance and dedication, the work of the Gallaudet 11 made substantial contributions to understanding of motion sickness and adaptation to space flight. By studying how these men reacted to movement without a working inner ear, this data helped NASA prepare their first astronauts for the strange feeling of floating in space. The Gallaudet 11, Harold Domich, Robert Greenman, Baron Gulak, Raymond Harper, Gerald Jordan, Harry Larson, David Myers, Donald Peterson, Raymond Piper, Alvin Steele, John Zakutny were not just test subjects, but these 11 deaf men were the foundation of the American space program and the reason why man's mission to the moon, including that of the Artemis II, was possible.
Still watching News 360, stay with us. Business, sports and entertainment are all coming up.
Obodu. Now, the Ghanaian economy displayed a complex performance at the beginning of 2026, characterized by robust annual growth in consumer spending and manufacturing, even as seasonal trends led to sharp monthly declines. According to the March 2026 Monetary Policy Report from the Bank of Ghana, consumer resilience remained a highlight.
Domestic VAT collections reached 1.799 billion cedis in January 2026, marking a 7.1% increase compared to the previous year. Similarly, retail sales surged by 16.6% year-on-year to 277.88 million cedis. However, these figures marked a significant month-on-month cooling effect following the December festive period. Retail sales plummeted by 41.1% from December levels, while VAT collections dipped by 13.1%, signaling a typical post-holiday slowdown in household consumption. The manufacturing subsector showed signs of improvement, bolstered by steady tax and pension contributions. Total direct tax collections rose 9% year-on-year to 5.8 billion cedis. Contributions to the SNIT Tier 1 pension scheme grew by 16.8% annually, reaching 551.97 million cedis in January. Despite these year-on-year gains, total direct taxes saw a massive 64.4% monthly drop from December's 16.305 billion cedis, a volatility often tied to quarterly corporate tax cycles. In contrast to the broader recovery, the construction sector showed signs of strain. Cement sales fell by 7.7% year-on-year to roughly 206,799 tons. Overall, the data suggests that while the Ghanaian economy carries positive momentum from 2025, it remains sensitive to seasonal fluctuations and varying performance across key industrial sectors.
Now, the Food and Agriculture Minister, Eric Opoku, says plans are underway to more than double local production of a tomato variety widely imported from Burkina Faso in a bid to improve food security. Many traders prefer tomatoes from the neighboring country, citing their richer taste and lower water content. Concerns about Ghana's reliance on import grew earlier this year when Burkina Faso announced a temporary ban on export. Now, speaking to 3 Business, the minister said output could more than double through details of the projected yield increases, though details of the projected increases are yet to be clarified.
We are getting 8 tons per hectare, and they in Burkina Faso, they are getting 18 tons per hectare. So when you check Burkina Faso, the total land area used for tomato cultivation is just around 17,000 hectares under irrigation. But because they are able to do 18 tons per hectare, their production is above 300,000 tons. They do 306,000 tons. We have 92,000 hectares of land under cultivation. In the peak season, 92,000 hectares. But because we are doing 8 tons per hectare, our production is just around 510,000 tons. And we are saying that if we are able to develop that variety and create that atmosphere, in addition to the variety, that will give us 15 to 20 tons per hectare. We will be sufficient, self-sufficient, within the shortest possible time. That is why we engage with WACI, and that's why we are engaging with CSIR to see what can be done. And within the shortest possible time, we tell the Ghanaian people where we have gotten to in relation to that.
And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. We'll bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market.
Ghana, our gold is more than a resource. It's our pride. And at Gold Ball Jewelry, we celebrate that pride every day with craftsmanship that reflects who we are as Ghanaians. Introducing
to the 25th as the search for Ghana's next star continues. Nestle Ghana has unveiled the 2026 edition of its Milo U13 Champions League, marking the return of one of the country's most prominent grassroots football tournaments. The launch, held at the company's head office in Accra on Friday, signals the start of a week-long competition that will bring together young footballers from across Ghana. 16 basic schools, representing all regions, are set to compete for the title. The competition, which resumed in 2025 after a 5-year absence, has undergone several changes, including a redesigned logo and a newly introduced trophy. Speaking at the ceremony, Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Manager at Nestle Ghana, Deborah Kwabla, stated the importance of the Milo U13 Champions League.
The schools that participate in the tournament has a lot to gain. The fact that if you help the young people to prepare properly, you are teaching them values, you are helping them to be active, and then by the time they get into the last 16 and become finalists and win the cup, the school becomes popular, okay? So we know what winning does to people. It boosts your morale, it makes you feel good, it gives you a lot of confidence.
Meanwhile, the category manager for beverages at Nestle Ghana, Myron, expressed his excitement.
You know, we are back refreshed and more revived, and this is at skill and with intent. So, like you've witnessed here at the launch, it's going to be an exciting journey, and it goes beyond the tournament on the finals day. So I just urge the Ghanaians to expect something spectacular from the kids, but also an impact that permeates across the regions and the whole country. Pretty much that. I'm super excited. In fact, I cannot wait. I'm just getting, I'm just waiting for Monday.
Former Ghana captains Asamoah Gyan and Stephen Appiah both graced the event as ambassadors. Gyan, a beneficiary of grassroots football, stressed the importance of developing and finding talent at a young age.
This is very, very important for Ghana, especially because talking about Milo Champions League, we've got a lot of players who are already playing in the national team. They've discovered a lot of talent, not only in football, different activities, you know. So I think it's a very good thing for Ghana. This initiative started way back, and I'm a product of Milo, you know. So it's something that has been very, very important for us, and we are very, very grateful.
The Milo U13 Champions League promises loads of excitement for young talent across Ghana.
Well, let's do some more here, where former Black Stars defender Samuel Osei-Kuffour has weighed in on Ghana's ongoing debate over dual nationals, urging a more proactive approach in recruiting diaspora talent ahead of future tournaments. In an exclusive interview with 3 Sports, the ex-Black Stars defender admits that Ghana often finds itself at a disadvantage when it comes to competing with European nations for players of Ghanaian descent.
Parent, you base in Europe, and your son is playing so well, and that your son is Jude Bellingham, both parents from Ghana. Will you allow Jude Bellingham to play for Ghana or England?
I will consider the bigger economic benefit.
Yes, because either we like it or we don't like it, we are second choice.
Yes, that's the truth.
That's what people have to understand.
Yeah.
Either we like it or we don't like it, we are second choice.
And it goes beyond football, yes. It goes beyond patriotism.
Okay, so now if Duku Frimpong, not Jiku, Doku, Frimpong, and all those players, if we have got them young, all of them will play for Ghana. Yeah. So that's why I'm using the office in Europe. Let get them young. Yeah. Let them come here and face the atmosphere. Let them find the good feeling around the team, either it's under 17, under 20, or under 23, including the Blasters. Let get them young. Yeah. If we get them young, we have opportunity to build our national team.
Well, that was Samuel Osei-Kuffour bringing an end to the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything.
Segment is brought to you by GTP Lifestyle and Napa Foods. Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Coil. Powered by 3 Entertainment.
Good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko. And after weeks of thrilling performances, 5 exceptional young talents have secured their place in the grand finale of this year's Talented Kids reality show. The ultimate showdown takes place on Sunday, April 26th at the National Theatre. These 5 finalists are ready to make history with electrifying performances as they battle for the ultimate crown. Jasper Blue, DJ Zeb, Ino the Poet, Poet Lisha, and Queen Dessa will take center stage in what promises to be the biggest showdown in the capital. Who will be crowned the winner of Talented Kids Season 17? 5 finalists, 1 title, and less inspiration. And so the tickets are going for 50 Ghana cedis, and you can grab yours from the TV3 premises. But let's get into some entertainment tidbits.
Protected by the Holy Ghost. I'm chivalrous, I kick it down and then I hold the door.
Stormzy's iconic star-proof vest, designed by Banksy and worn during his 2019 Glastonbury Festival headline performance, will be displayed at the V&A East Museum as part of Music is Black, a British Story. Opening April 18, the exhibition explores over a century of Black British music, spotlighting its cultural impact and resilience. Stormzy's vest, featuring a spray-painted Union Jack, stands as a symbol of identity, activism, and artistic expression. With over 200 items on display, including stage outfits, instruments, and rare archives, the showcase celebrates the evolution and global influence of Black British music.
I just go and tour. Deuteronomy 3:22, this is my holy war. The only person I follow is the Messiah.
Davido returned to Coachella for Weekend 2 with a high-energy set that reinforced his global impact and the rise of Afrobeats. After bringing out Adekunle Gold in Weekend 1, he closed this time with Jamaican star Shinsia for a thrilling finale. Well, that's it for the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
On the international front, U.S. President Donald Trump insists he is not under pressure to make a peace deal with Iran, but says one will be made relatively quickly. Ahead of Wednesday's ceasefire deadline, the next phase of peace talks is uncertain. A U.S. delegation headed by Vice President J.D. Vance will travel to Pakistan, but no timings are confirmed. But Iran says it has no plans for the next round of negotiations in Islamabad. One sticking point for Iran is said to be the U.S. naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, which escalated when the U.S. attacked and seized an Iranian cargo ship on Sunday.
Thank you very much for watching News 360. My name is Martin Esiedu Dati.
And I am Portia Gabo. Good evening.